Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight series presented by the Black Podcasters Association. My name's Corey Gumbs, and I'm the founder as well as your host. Just to give you guys some background, the Spotlight series is a weekly show where we highlight Black podcasters, creatives, and podcast support professionals from our online community. Our goal is to bring a spotlight to our members and help raise awareness of their unique journeys growing in this growing medium called podcasting. In today's episode, we'd like to welcome another one of our community members, Tiffanee Dewberry. She is the host of the Cannabis Infused podcast, Ménage with the MariJayne Maven. And I believe the purpose of this podcast is to help eradicate negative stereotypes while helping to elevate lives. I'm going to allow Tiffanee to tell us her story and explain her podcast, but I just want to point out too, I noticed on your page that you were nominated recently for the 2022 Orange County Cannabis Award in the category of cannabis education / educational speaker. So I would love to definitely learn more about that as well. But enough about me. Let's start talking about you.
Well, thank you so much. And I mean, you are just my favorite person right now because I was, of course, going to talk about the Cannabis Awards. It is something that I'm very, 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 very proud of the accomplishment and a couple of the things that I've done this year. However, I will go back and start at the beginning. This is your girl, MariJayne Maven. And as you know, my government, Tiffanee Dewberry, but you may refer to me as the MariJayne Maven. The MariJayne Maven is a brand. It is so much more than just my podcast. We are a multifaceted company. And it's really just like I said, a lifestyle brand, a lifestyle, wellness, and education brand.
Okay.
Um, just a little bit about myself. I love kind of talking about myself, so I'm gonna keep this streamlined as much as possible. I enjoyed cannabis in college. Prior to that, I was scared to death because my father is a very large, stern, intimidating Black man. And I always knew that if I came home high, they would know. Reason being is because I remember finding their rolling tray and their roach clip, with the rabbit's foot way back in the day. But so I was always like, I will never, ever, ever. First time that I did smoke, I lit my nail on fire. I was 18, getting ready to graduate, working, great grades, and a little peer pressure. My friends were like, "Come on, you don't do anything. Just try it. Just try it." So I said, "All right." We're riding around in my friend's Honda Accord, and I closed my eyes as I was lighting the pipe, and all of a sudden, my friend says, "Excuse my language." She says, "Bitch, your nails on fire. Give me that." And they were like, "You're done. You're no longer. You're not allowed to smoke with this." It took a couple of years later for me to become a connoisseur. I remember the first time that I was elevated, I watched the country music channel for hours and cried. That's how faded I was. But I knew then that I felt like myself. It was just something powerful about it. So going to college, met my husband. I didn't think that at a private university like UC Davis, I was like, "Oh, no, everybody there is a genius. Nobody smokes." Police. Everybody did. So it was a part of life that I was able to, continue to enjoy. Um, Upon graduating, my husband and I got married in 2005, and in January of 2006, multiple sclerosis decided to be like, "Hey, you look fun. You look like somebody I want to go ahead and I want to sit right here and be in your life." So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in January of 2006. I won't say the name of the organization, but let's just say that what everybody says about this healthcare, once you have a major problem, you'll see just how kind of shitty they are.
Right.
And they were. I had the neurologist walk into the office looking through his paperwork, didn't even know my name. And he says, "Oh, yeah, so you have multiple sclerosis. Here's some pamphlets. Go home, read about it, research it on Google, come back and let me know what you want to do." Now, Google's, great now. Auntie Google. Don't know how we survived without her. But back then, anything that you searched, you got the bad news.
Right.
So I didn't understand what I was reading. And, for about 6 months, I want to say I rebelled in a way. my fantastic husband let me do it, and then after about 6 months, he said, "Okay, great. You know, we've been to every club. You've probably drank about every, drop of Hennessy or vodka there is in these clubs. I allowed you your time to kind of deal with it in your way, but we have a life to live. We have plans, and I wanted to continue that way." So at that time, very young, I was 27, I believe, where I didn't, most people don't have to worry about their medical care, but I had to become very diligent and find the right neurologist for me, find the right healthcare for me. And we did that. And I found a fantastic neurologist who, to this day, when I go to see him, we're just reminiscing. We're talking about his vacations. We're talking about what's going on with his new girlfriend. And then the last 15 minutes, he does the test. But he's always said that he admires the way that I, deal with the illness. And the way that I decided was I wasn't going to claim it. I wasn't going to let it become me. That way, I felt like it wasn't going to manifest. And it's been since 2006, and I'm healthy. I've had a couple of, things happen here and there, but I am so resolute in my decision to utilize cannabis as far as my health. I don't use any of the medication that, they prescribe. If you guys watch any of the commercials nowadays, MS medicine is out there in the forefront. And if I hear one more, side effect that is basically death is the worst thing. Um, that's that doesn't provide any solace to anybody who's going through a central nervous system illness, such as multiple sclerosis. So I have chose to use the flower power as I referred power flower as I refer to it, you know, as Chris was it Chris said it in Friday. He put it here for me and you. It grows. It's from the ground. It's a plant. What can be wrong with it? Versus, the man-made stuff that's in the big pharma. So I was in corporate sales for a while, and I did well, but every couple of years, I was looking for something else. I just wasn't happy. I always had a side hustle. I did passion parties. I did designer jean sales. I did event planning as far as weddings and things like that. At the jobs that I had, and I called them jobs because it was just being over broke. It was not a career.
Right.
And it wasn't what my passion and purpose was. But they would always kind of, pacify me by saying, "Here, plan this, do this," because they knew that I had other skills and other talents and other interests. I just didn't know it myself. I like to say that I was living in fear instead of living in my passion and purpose. I'm sorry, I have a candle going and it looks like I am in a fire right now. Hold on.
Okay. No problem. I thought you guys were blowing.
I-
I was like, I
Big
saw
time.
the smoke coming across. I was like, all right.
Big time. I just saw
Play true to the game.
Right. I'm very talented. I can talk and smoke and nobody even knows.
I was like, all
Um,
right.
but no, so I unfortunately in 2016, my sister-in-law at the age of 41 was diagnosed with cancer. And unfortunately, 6 months later to the day, even though she had bone marrow transplant and everything, by all medical purposes, she was great. Um, December 4th, actually, she passed. And she was young and she was so full of life. And it just it really hit me hard. And I told myself, I've got to figure out what it is that I want to do. I stopped saying, "Oh, I'm an Aries, I'm flighty." That's what it is. I'm just gonna bounce from job to job to job, as long as I was making good money. But that wasn't, what my purpose in this universe is. And so once I identified, discovered, and defined what my passion was, my purpose just fell right into my lap. And that became the MariJayne Maven. And being a cannabis educator, and it's grown from just doing kind of affiliate work. I'm very resourceful. So when I quit my job, one day my husband dropped me off. I was late. It was after a 3-day weekend. This is how much I hated it. I went in late, talked to everybody, took, breaks and did all this other stuff. And when I finally went back to my desk, I just started clearing everything off, and I started typing up my resignation letter. And I told my husband, I quit. He says, "Good. I've been waiting for you to make the decision to find out what it is that you're going to do." He's a teacher, and so he says, "Let's just get through the summer together, and then you can worry about it in September." I can't do that. I'm an Aries, so this entire time I was searching and I was, trying to figure out what I needed to do,
Right.
and I started holding the number what became the number one networking events here in Sacramento for about 2 years. And during that time, that's what allowed me to really start to cultivate the MariJayne Maven, because it was so many people who I was out and, about using cannabis and about wanting to be in the industry. And, everybody kind of did this, waited till I was by myself and they'd come and go, "Hey, so my cousin has some money," and starts whispering. I'm like, "Why are you whispering? It's legal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it." But I started noticing then that there was interest in not only the plant as medicinal use, but the opportunities that it was going to provide for people to be entrepreneurs and to hopefully build generational wealth. My main focus right away were people of color, because I started going to events
Right.
and I was the only Black woman. Few of the women, but everybody that was there, they were clicked up already,
Right.
because,
Right.
they got the money from their grandma, or, they that black card, they went ahead and then and exhausted all the funds there. But it was just a bunch of people together who used to be in like mortgages, and they were like, "Oh, let's go try this weed thing." And it infuriated me because I have a story to tell. I have, I don't want to say an illness, but I have a medical condition that I use cannabis for, and that it actually helps to elevate my life. And I did not want to see this industry, one, being taken away from us once again, and us being disenfranchised, but also the wrong people being in charge, and it
Yeah.
becoming what good old America likes to do, which is make everything about money. So one day I told myself this is not going to become the green rush, not on my duty, not on my watch. So I started to become very prevalent in the area and hosting events. And what I did was I had them be a collaboration and networking event. But what I wanted it to be was a kick it like how we have it. So you could smoke, there was food, there were speakers, there were dancers, there were entrepreneurs that were selling their jewelry or their clothes or whatever. But I just wanted it to be like, short of
Good
playing
time.
maze and
Yeah.
doing the wobble. I
Yeah.
just wanted it to be that kind of community because I wanted people to feel like they could start collaborating.
Right.
One thing that I will say about us is that we're always so worried about, and it's not a bad thing. It's how we have to be within this country, but focusing on our end goal, that we may miss an opportunity to collaborate with somebody who then we can together go even further and be even more
Right.
successful. Um, so I started working with the equity program. I'm not sure if in your cities and towns, if you guys have equity programs. Equity programs are meant to help those that have been disenfranchised, those who have past crimes,
Yeah.
or past charges, or somebody who maybe lives in a low income neighborhood or something like that. Each city, each county, each state is different, but it's to help people of color be able to get into the industry and to take away that obstacle of money, because that is the easiest
Well, it's
smoke
expensive
screen
to
to
get
have.
into it, so,
Yeah,
it's expensive to get your licensing and the training and stuff, so
very, very much.
yeah.
And I think most people thought right away, well, I don't have $1 million to start a dispensary.
Right.
But what I wanted to do was allow people to find out that you did not have to be flower touching. That's a great thing. It's very spiritual. Go ahead and grow your own in your backyard, but you did not need to be a major cultivator or manufacturer, right off the bat. Now, if you want to get there, definitely don't give up on it, but take baby steps, because this is a new industry as far as within our economic system and within this country. So we have to make sure that we understand it inside and out so that it
Okay.
works best for us. So part of what I do as well, and as you mentioned, the MariJayne Maven, and my tagline or my mission is to educate, eradicate, and elevate. So first, I would like to educate so that we can just completely eradicate all of the, you know, BS stigmas that are involved.
Right.
My grandmother, who is 80, saved, sanctified, stamped bound for glory, first lady of a church. That was dope. That was dope. That oh no. And my grandfather passed unfortunately, and they were married 60 plus years. And her doctor took her off of the 30 daily medications that she was on and had been on for 20, 30 years, cold turkey, and told her to take Excedrin for pain as she was grieving. I told my grandma, I said, look, don't be mad at me. I don't know what verse it is in the Bible, but where it talks about the tree of life, that's cannabis. I said, Grandma, just trust me. I'm gonna make sure that you can at least not be in pain. So I went and bought her a lot of CBD edibles, and then I moved her up to a vape pen. And then my grandma was calling me, talk about, hey girl, can you give me some of that VCR? I'm like, oh, THC, okay, all right, grandma. So now you want to move up. So I started her on a high ratio of it was 18, no 20 to 1, so that she was getting some of the psychoactive benefits, to help her through the grieving process. But overall, she was getting the wellness and the relaxation that she needed from the CBD aspect. So
Okay.
being able to, I was going to do it anyway because I'm hella grown, but being able to convince my grandmother, my aunts, uncles, that more religious side of my family, that it is not dope. You're not gonna burn in hell. Um, and to let them know that I was building a career off of helping people to live a better life. It really kind of validated for me, and it let me know that I was on the right track. So uh, that was 2016. Um, my husband always knew that I wanted to have a radio show. I'm not going to tell you my little tagline that I had, but I had one. And podcasting was huge. I love the read. I love, like I said, Charlemagne. Um, I just love that opportunity for people to have a platform to speak their mind and truly be themselves. But then to talk about issues that we need to talk about, and it needs to be talked about as a whole, not just within our, little pockets in our families. So my husband would not let me come up with any more excuses as far as, oh, well, the boys and you coach basketball and this and what about the equipment? And he says, "Oh, okay, okay, all right." Found a studio and going on our third season of Menage with the MariJayne Maven. Um, I absolutely love it, and it's gone from one podcast to four that I
Sure.
am
Okay.
hosting. Yes, and I mean, I love to talk. I'm not saying, that I have the right answer all the time. Pretty close. I like to say either I'm very, very nosy, observant, or psychic. One of the three. But I do think that I have a story to tell. I do want to say that part of my journey in discovering where I needed to go is I give all credit to The Alchemist. I read that book and it
Okay.
changed my life. It
It's a
changed my
great
way of
book.
thinking. It's absolutely great. If somebody out there is feeling like they're just kind of floating and just bobbing, their head's just staying above water and they don't know what to do. They don't know what journey they're supposed to be on. Read it. I'm telling you, it's like somebody's writing the book for you as you're reading it.
And it's an easy read. It's not one of those
It is.
complicated reads either. So
It is. It is.
it'll
And I
suck you in,
constantly
and
go
you
back
you
to it.
probably finish it in a day or two. Well, I know I
Yeah.
finished it in a day or two.
Yeah, and I can't believe I became one of the people that were like that was highlighting and writing notes in a book, and I'm like, "What am I doing?" I always talked about people who did that. But it's great to be able to go back to. So no matter what part of my journey that I'm on now, I kinda like to go back to it to remind me that your way of thinking is the most powerful thing that you will ever have, possession of. That's the one thing that you can control is your mindset and making the life that you want to live. Live your life every day like you're living the life that you want to live every day. Um, and I live by that. And a lack of passion is fatal. So I try to make sure that I educate myself so that I can continue to be as passionate about this plant as I always have been, and I will continue to be until I'm 90, 100 years old. Um, it's provided so many different opportunities for me to do what I saw for myself deep down. And like I said, I was living in fear instead of living within my passion and purpose. So the education, the eradication, and then that allows people to do like I did and live their quality of life the way that they choose to be in control of it, to use your doctor and your medical practitioner as a tool, not as you know, the Wizard of Oz who knows everything,
Right.
because you know
I
they don't.
I have a question for you. Because we're not represented in large amounts in the cannabis space, and you actually, and then you're a black woman on top of that, which just narrows it even more further down. Um, how do you utilize your podcast to help bring awareness to, for people of color or black people in general, more segmented group, and for black
Um,
women as well?
that was my main focus when I started. I wanted women to go through the journey that I went through. I feel like every woman, mother, wife, you eventually start to go, I love being a wife. I love being a mom, but who am I? And I think that we're doing it earlier now. I remember my mom kind of going through it, but she was like, in her 50s, 55. And I think that, you know, the the newer generations, we're doing it at a younger age. We're wanting to be more and to, you know, and like I say, I want to leave a footprint of significance in the lives of others in a very positive way. That is what I'm meant, what I'm meant to do. So I wanted to be able to speak to other women, to be able to let them know that through cannabis, we could save our communities, you know. Um, and nobody gonna get mad at me because I'm gonna say Pookie, but that's just the first thing that came to my head. Pookie went away for a little bit of time because he was trying to break down an ounce to get his baby some backpacks for school. You know,
Right.
you're the one that's been holding him down that whole time. You're the one, more than likely, women, we are the backbones of our community and we matriarchs of our family. So we're the ones that need to educate ourselves so that we can help our men, to come up and to, be everything that they are meant to be within this country. If it's through weed, if it's you becoming the next burner, if it's you being a cultivator, if it's you being the next marketing, cannabis marketer, whatever it may be, this is an opportunity for us to, reparations in a way. So I wanted to work with, who I feel men are powerful. We're equal, but we don't play. When we want to get something done and we want better for our families and for ourselves, that's what we're going to do. So I wanted women to start with helping themselves first, to, put their health first, to put their dreams and desires, to put that it's okay for you to have that and still be a mother and still be a wife. Um, so cannabis has helped me to do that. Um, you
Now,
know,
sorry.
oh no, good.
Now, how has the response been from the community in regards to your podcast and the subject matters that you talk about? Especially, I mean, I don't know who your is. I know besides the cannabis part is your
Mhm.
target audience. Who else is your target audience, and how have they responded to your podcast?
I have actually had really good response. My husband is the greatest producer ever. He checks, our analytics often, and I actually am my largest market is males between the age of, I want to say, was it 34 and 48, 7, 50? So I think that's fantastic.
That's
If
interesting.
somebody's able to kind of sit down and listen to me talk about Laguna Beach randomly, or, how much I love Drake, or, you know,
All
so
right.
just being a woman. If they could sit down and enjoy what it is that I'm giving, but also walking away with a wealth of knowledge, I can't ask for anything more. I've also had a lot of people, especially men, who come to me for career advice. I am not, Jeff Bezos. We know from being entrepreneurs that money does just not start rolling in all of a sudden. So multiple streams of income has become a huge part of who I am as well.
Okay.
My husband's always like, another affiliate? Yes, another one. Uh, it doesn't hurt. So I love telling people about, different opportunities that they never could think of. I'm a brand educator, not a brand ambassador. Um, Cannabis needs education, not somebody to be a cheerleader. So if you, and I say this all the time, especially black men, you know, slick tongue, can sell ice to a igloo, like E40 says. That's, there you
Eskimo.
go. If you could, you can do that, and you can definitely get into being a brand educator, especially if you are passionate about cannabis and all of the different, products that are out there now. That's a great way for somebody to get their foot in the door. Um, and then, kind of go from there. So I've actually had very good response. I have an episode that I do once a month called Pussy Power, and it's for the ladies, but I get a lot of my male viewers who send in a question, or I've had I have a studio in my house, so we'll have live episodes sometimes, and it ends up just being a uh, a good night of laughing, games,
Mhm.
great communication between men and women. And then also as women, we're helping to lift each other up. I always say, don't knock over that crown. We want to help, to straighten that up on a
Right,
queen's
right.
head. So um, I love to highlight when people are, you know, pursuing what they're meant to do. I have to say that if during COVID you were doing, you ended up in 2021 doing the same shit you were doing in 2019, I can't mess with you. That was a great opportunity and a message from the universe letting us know that this was our time to better ourselves and to, to take opportunities and to take advantage of the opportunities that were being provided to us.
All right. So how has now I know you've referenced your husband a lot and how supportive he's been with you on your journey. How has podcasting helped you, your family, and your relationship with your husband? How has it helped you guys? Because I think that's also important. A lot of times people are doing it by themselves. They don't have the full support of their family. We do have members in the group who are teams. They do it with their wives or their husbands or their significant other. Um, but we don't really hear podcasters talk about that much,
Mm.
right? And it's very important when we go in these endeavors because they're very time consuming that we have proper supports in our lives. How has this helped you guys, or how has this affected your relationship?
It's helped tremendously. We've spent a lot of time together. We have been together 20 years. And in that 20 years, I think we've been apart maybe a total of 2.5, 3 weeks,
Wow,
when I worked here and
that's
there and things
amazing.
like that. He coaches basketball, high school and college. So, tournament time, he goes away, but I'm usually just a few hours behind him going to be with them. Um, the support, I have to say, as a woman and as a wife, you know, being a mom is a thankless job sometimes, a lot of the time. And, being in relationships and you just kinda going with the flow and things like that. Sometimes, your significant other may not get the opportunity, or that, time doesn't allow. Life, gets in the way to tell you how much they appreciate you and how proud they are of you. Um, with him being my producer, I get that every time I record. I know how proud of me he is. I know that he is never he's not gonna let me, quit. Um, and it it makes me feel like I am as proud. I'm a dutiful, proud, proud, proud wife, okay? I always say when he has his 30 for 30 episodes, because he will, I'm gonna get my own episode. They're gonna be like, "Man, I'm here," because I'm gonna have so much to say. But I think that when you work together, it allows for you to become stronger, to have better communication, and without having it to be said, you know how much you appreciate each other. Now for my boys, I have a 24-year-old. I know, how is that possible? 24-year-old son who lives in LA. He's first real relationship, so as long as he doesn't ask me for anything to be sent on Cash App, he's doing great. And then I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, all boys. My 10-year-old wants to start his own podcast, doing anime. Um,
That's
my
wonderful.
13-year-old knows that he's basketball. That's his passion, his path. So he always says, when I'm hosting NBA on TNT with Shaq, I'm gonna always talk about how, my mom was podcasting 3 or 4 days a week and how that motivated me. And so it's awesome. It makes me feel really good as well that even though I tell my 13-year-old, "You're not supposed to watch the episode," all of a sudden I'll see him commenting in the live chat or something like that. Um, so it is very beneficial because my whole goal is wanting to pass down generational wealth and for them to understand that they never have to work for anybody. Never have to work for anybody. And I want that message to continue to be passed on throughout our community. They're not going to give us like Dave Chappelle reparations where we go line up and get checks and everything. This is how we're going to be able to even the playing field and, like I said, live our best lives um, and the lives that we're supposed to live. And so I think that when you do something together as a family, it just kind of brings you closer together. But it also is a great example for the children to see their parents working together. Um, and I know that I'm much
Yeah,
happier. I think that I'm a much, much better mother. I know that I'm a much better wife because I'm not working, making somebody else look good. I'm doing
right.
what, like I said, what I'm purposed to do.
Well, I'm gonna encourage you to get your son if that's what he wants to do to start rolling it out because the younger generation is
Mhm.
one of the fastest growing markets in podcasting right
Yes.
now. So, and especially for us, I don't know if you're aware of the Black Podcasters report recently, but our community is growing with that too.
Mhm.
And from the money point of view, we tend to have a better brand connection
Mhm.
from advertiser to listener.
Yep.
So for his age group, I think that would be great. By the time he reaches, the ages when we got life started, he'd probably could already be a millionaire by then,
Look,
so
I
it's
want him to be like, what's his name, Mr. Beast? I want him to be like that. That dude's
yeah.
bringing in like the
So
beast.
and you guys have the studio already, so, one of
Yeah,
the biggest expenses you already have, so and you
yeah,
got your husband who's the producer, so, he's set up for success.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
look forward to that.
it's grades and activities. He plays baseball. He just found out today that he got the solo singing the Black National Anthem. So I was very
Oh,
proud of him
congratulations.
for that. Um, but yeah, he's in love with anime. He definitely thinks that he is Japanese. He really said, "Can we do our ancestry? Because I think we have Japanese in our blood." I was like, "Oh, you can think that. May." But he already knows he wants to study abroad. But he's a great artist. He loves anime. And I said, "I think it'd be really good for you to do a review, to watch one of your animes and to kinda tell each episode one by one." I host the Boondocks podcast, and that's how we do that. And, he's very excited about it.
So
We,
you
he
let us know, you let us know because that's our associations for all age groups and it's for all Black podcasters. So we
oh,
definitely would
love
support
that.
that, and I'm really like myself, I'm starting to work on some programs working with the youth and getting them involved in podcasting. So I think it's very important. It's important for them for their voices to be heard as well.
Yes, yes.
And this is
And
like a
they're so
family
smart.
business. This
Yeah,
is like
and
more
they're
of
so
a family
smart.
business. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very good to like for my son, like I said, affiliate. That's how I use my sponsorship. So if anybody's wondering, oh, how do you monetize?
Well, let's talk
Do
about that.
affiliate.
So how does your podcast work for your business? Because I know you said you have multiple streams of income and you're very business minded. So let's talk about that real quick.
So my podcasts vary a bit. So for each one, I focus on products, brands or whatever that has to do with, you know, that that product. So for cannabis, of course, I don't want to call it a head shop, but where you can get your dab rigs and whatever else. And CBD is huge to me, huge, 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 huge. And so I work with the first CBD black owned CBD company, um, Homes Organic. So I work with them. Just whatever I find. Honestly, if I find I really am, what sales did give me was the ability to product knowledge and to find out something that I truly believe in. So that's what I do. For my Boondocks podcast, we had Funko Pops made of us. So yes, I have a Funko Pop. We have, merch and things like that. Um, for my other podcast that my husband and I do together, that's more adult. So more adult products and things like that that
Right.
I use as affiliates. Um, and I really try to work with entrepreneurs. My husband hates it, but I believe it's good karma that I'll just say, "Hey, let's collab." This will be you. I'll do an ad for you. You do one for me. You come on my pod. I'll come on yours. And because when it, when the time comes, I'm sure my pockets will be lined, from that or however karma would like to pay me back. But it's very important to understand the power in our dollar and the fact that we are so resourceful. And I love that you said that as a community and as Black people, we have a great connection between, you know, brands and ad and things like that. And it's because we're passionate. We are passionate people and not really too good at, you know, BSing. So if it's not a good product, you're probably going to hear about it, even though they're going to be talking about it. You know, so I think that's what makes us so good at it and so attractive to, you know, to brands is you know, just that longevity, that like I said, that honesty. And we are some creative, hilarious people. Okay. So if we could, you know, make somebody's brand you know, even more likable by our humor or just by the way, you know, our delivery, then why not? You know,
Right,
and
right,
especially for cannabis, it's not gonna happen anytime soon, but we're not gonna have, you know, 4 commercials during the Super Bowl anytime soon. It's probably gonna come, but no time soon. So cannabis companies have to really pivot and think about how they're gonna market and do their advertising. And using brand educators such as myself and using, I think, podcasters is a great way to do it.
right. I know you have a schedule to keep, so I'm gonna wind this down. But one thing I do want to ask you a question. What advice would you have for people in our community who are looking to get started in podcasting? And what would be one thing if you could go back and change? What would be one thing you would change in your journey in podcasting?
Um, First and foremost, I doubted myself. When I first started, I had 3 co-hosts, and I didn't want to admit it. But when it came down to the time when it was only me, I was like, "Oh, I was kind of using them to, you know, to you know, to kind of alleviate, you know, the backlash or people saying this or people saying that or whatever it may be." And I was like, "No, I need them." And my husband's like, "You don't. You are the MariJayne Maven. You don't. Like, it's great that you have them, but you do not need them."
Right,
And you know, that self-doubt and that criticism and kind of the bad habits that, you know, I had before beginning on my journey just kind of crept back in there. And I just had to have a come to Jesus talk with the, you know, with the hubby and really be accountable, which is a huge thing. That's something that I would, you know, say as well. Be accountable and be real. You cannot lie to yourself. You can lie to everybody else, but you know deep down when you're laying in bed or when you're in the shower and you're brushing your teeth, you're thinking like, "Oh, you know, it's only to your detriment, not to anybody else's." People are gonna keep on doing what they do, whether you know, you hit your goal or you know, you live out your dreams or not. So, be ready because when it starts to happen, it can be a little bit scary, but it is probably one of the best feelings, as well. I
right,
remember driving to work when I used to work in call centers and seeing people, like, loving that they were going to work, and I'm like, "Man, I don't care how much NSYNC or whatever else I listen to, like, nothing is getting me that excited to go to work." But I remember saying, "I want to be that way one day," and I am now. So,
that's beautiful.
um uh-oh, sorry. Sorry about that. No, my mother-in-law. So, yeah, so definitely, I would say don't you're gonna have doubts, but use those doubts as fuel.
Right,
Like I said, discover, define, and just live within your passion and purpose, and don't ever waver from that. Um, Living with passion is an amazing thing. People say all the time, "You speak with so much passion." I'm like, "Well, thank you. I'm glad that's coming across." That's how it should be in whatever it is. I don't care if
right,
you are underwater basket weaving. I don't care if you're making, you know, cannabis edibles. I don't care if you're making earrings. I don't care what it is. If that's what truly makes you happy, that's what you should do each and every day.
right.
And we have a story to tell as Black people, and as people of color, amazing stories to tell. And there's so many of us that go, "Oh, I wanted to write a book. Oh, I wanted to do this." Well, now is the time to do it.
I mean,
Um,
right. That's one reason why I wanted to do this with the media moderators in the group. We talked about doing this for a while, and that's why we like because all of you guys as podcasters have different paths, different obstacles that you've overcome, and even though this is about your podcast, right? It's also about you as a host and as a black podcaster and the journey you've been on
mhm,
to get to this point where you're at or to get to the point that you're trying to get to.
yeah,
And I think it's good that we highlight it because one thing we need to people to understand is, I hate saying this, but we're not all the same, right? We're not monolithic, right? We
You
all have
just
different.
I was just going to say that. Just gonna
So,
say we're not, as
so
much as they try to make us, we're not,
right.
you know.
So, like you being a black woman, talking, being an advocate for cannabis and having a cannabis related podcast. That's when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, because usually I see guys with it. It's
Mhm.
far in between that you see, in solo podcasts at that too. So it's important that we get these stories out and learn who you are. Like you have a very interesting story, and I'm happy to hear about you and how you and your husband work together, because that's another story that we don't hear a lot about, and we need to start highlighting those things. So um with that, I'm going to segue into just what does it mean for you to be I mean, we kind of got the impression already, but to be a black podcaster as well as a part of our community, because everybody that comes on the show is a part of our community, and I just want the world to know what it maybe what has the community done for you, or just your opinion on what on the community as well.
Um, it overall, it's really validated, what I've always felt. When you're a little kid and you're like, I wanted, you dream. I used to think I was gonna be Janet Jackson. You couldn't tell me I wasn't. I've always done something that has done with entertainment. Um, and to finally have it come to fruition, and to have it come to fruition through something that I'm in control of, and that allows me to be creative. I can tell you now, when I'm not being creative, it's not right. And that's the type of people. If you're a creative type person, when you're not creating, it's like you're stifling yourself. So it's awesome to be able to, if I'm feeling kind of spicy because I got behind, 6 drivers of, Priuses, and we know they are the worst drivers ever, all day, and I wanna get on the podcast and complain about it, I can, and I love being able to do that. I honestly feel like I've never been more me than I am when I podcast, when I'm able to create, and that's why it's gone from 1 to 4, because I have so many different interests and there's so many different, facets of me, just as every, person out there, every adult, we have a story to tell, whether it's traumatic, whether it's inspirational, whether it's, the manosphere and those red pill, blue pill type stuff. You know, they're
Right,
they're they yeah, there's an audience for it.
right.
And if you're responsible with what you're doing and the message that you're putting out there, um, then I think it's only going to continue to be a positive aspect of our community's growth and the story that our ancestors are going to be able to tell, um, years and years and years from now. You know, um, we are storytellers.
Right.
We come from that, um, and we don't need to stop. There's so much more than stories that we have to tell, and I love it if people are just getting around talking about football. If women are getting around talking about your makeup, I don't care what it is. Just do it, because there's somebody out there that you're touching and changing their lives, and also yours, and that's a beautiful thing.
That's perfect. Thank you. Um, Thank you for being here. Really appreciate learning more about you and your podcast. But we gotta get to the most important part. How can people find out about your podcast? Now I know I have your website and your Instagrams, your Facebook, and your YouTube. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
put that across the screen. But if you want to talk about how people can get in touch with you, as well as if they're interested in learning more about just the cannabis industry in general, I think
Yes.
that would be good too.
Please reach out. I talk to everybody, especially if we're in person. If you're in California, Northern California, I'm a hugger. I will stop and talk to you. My husband rolls his eyes, but he just kind of finds himself a seat and he just allows me to do it. Reach out, please. Instagram, that's me. Okay. I live, you message me. I respond faster on Instagram than I do emails, and anything else.
Okay.
But any social media, you can find me, my website, of course. Please like, subscribe, and catch up. I knew he was gonna tell me to say that. To my podcast. We are live every week. Season 3 is actually gonna be starting this evening. Um, and we go live on YouTube. I love the audio and the visual. So we're on all platforms as well. And we are actually part of a radio, or radio station called Full Swap Radio. So you can also find my podcasts, all of them, on Full Swap Radio
Okay.
as well. And please go create a account and vote for the MariJayne Maven for Best Cannabis Educator. And you guys have it's 50 more days that you can vote every single day. I love
Where's
you.
that at? Where do they find that at?
That is Orange County Cannabis Awards.com.
Okay. Orange County Cannabis Awards.com. Make sure you guys go and vote for Ménage. Ménage with the MariJayne Maven. I guess they'll have it listed on the category.
Yeah, so there's tons of categories actually. There
Okay.
are I,
And
there's
it's the
best
category of cannabis
cannabis
education.
chef. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll say definitely best cannabis chef, Chef Matt. Best worldwide influencer is gonna be Miss Bad Mother Puffer herself. And yes, these are all people of color. So get on there, vote for who your favorite, or go ahead and make sure that we have some color at this awards in January.
All right. Thank you, Tiffanee. And thank you to your husband as well and your family. Hope you guys have a happy holiday. We're gonna wrap up. So thank you guys for checking out the spotlight. We meet every Tuesday at 12 p.m. We do live sessions every Tuesday, 12 p.m. and Friday at 8 p.m. So you can check us out on Facebook and our YouTube channel. It's the Black Podcasters Association. Upcoming this Tuesday on December 7th, we're gonna have another member of our group. Her name is Jarrell Simpson, and she's the host of the Flow Up podcast. So make sure you check it out. If you'd like to learn more about the Black Podcasters Association or join our official Facebook group, you can check out the links in our bio or in the description, as well as you can head over to our website, blackpodcastersassociation.com, and get information there, and also sign up for our newsletter. So with that, again, thank you, Tiffanee. Really appreciate having you here. And we'll definitely be looking out for your podcast, and keep us
And
updated on everything that's going on.
And I just want to say thank you so much to you and to other platforms such as like Afros and Audio that are really trying to make a community for for podcasters and people of color. We need it. We need to come together. And you guys are doing this fantastic.
Oh, we love Afros and Audio over here. So
Yes,
I was a presenter actually
moderator for them.
last month
I
with
love
them.
them.
So
Yes.
all
So,
right.
and Corey, I would love to have you on my podcast as well. So we'll talk
I'll
about
just
that.
reach
But
out.
thank
Yeah,
you.
we can talk and we'll set all of that up.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right.